I'm sorry, I look like a wet rat today, but I think it kind of fits the vibe. Remy, you wish. Hello, my loves. Today we're gonna talk about some shit. This movie is absolutely insane, but I'm obsessed. This one was nasty. Nasty. Absolute bell. Correct. This one came out literally just a couple weeks ago. Directed by Coralie Fargeet. I don't know. And it stars Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley. Shout out to my homegirl, Margaret Qualley. That is my homegirl, because we made eye contact for all of 2 seconds and she smiled at me. Oh, and Dennis Quaid. I love Dennis Quaid in this movie. What is it about me, you ask? So this woman named Elizabeth Sparkle, who is renowned for an aerobics show. She faces a devastating blow on her 50th birthday as her boss fires her because of her age. And amid her distress, a laboratory offers her a substance which promises to transform her into an enhanced version of herself. If you haven't watched this movie, I highly recommend it. I think it's absolutely insane, and I love insane shit. Okay, let's get into it. So we start off with an egg, or what I like to call Way-Wo. Or what I like to call my fucking head. We start off with the egg being injected with the substance, and then splitting off into an equally perfect egg. Cut to a Hollywood star being built on the Walk of Fame for Elizabeth Sparkle. We then get this time lapse showcasing people taking pictures with it, loving it. Elizabeth's there for when it's first released, but then as more time passes, we see people just walking over it. There's not people taking pictures with it anymore. And then eventually a dude drops his whole ass burger on the thing with a bunch of ketchup, and I love this imagery because already I'm like, I know this movie's smart. I know this movie is gonna have metaphors and foreshadowing and all that. I know that. And so when he spills the burger, it has notably a lot of ketchup on it, and the ketchup spills all over, which looks like blood. Looks like blood to me, and I'm like, yep, some shit's gonna happen. I already know. We then see Elizabeth doing a workout video on her show called Sparkle Your Life. Sparkle Your Life. Come on, girls. You got it. Yeah. You got it. Girl, I was right there with her. She then ends the show by saying, "Take care of yourself," and blows a kiss into the camera. She then walks off set, goes to the bathroom, and notably, people are wishing her happy birthday. It's her birthday. Congrats. Congrats, Elizabeth. It's her birthday. She goes to the bathroom, and then Dennis Quaid walks in while she's in a stall, so he doesn't know that she's in there. And he's on the phone with someone saying basically how he needs someone new. He needs her hot, young, and now. Also talks about how a woman's fertility decreases by the age of 35. Which I'm like, literally f*** yourself. What a cracked thing to say. What the f***? I'm sorry. There's just something about a man. Like, I'm sorry. But truly, there's just something about a man talking about a woman's fertility that I just... I hear your ball sack start sagging by the age of 30. We then get the title card, Elizabeth. So intro to her and her life. This is her life, and it's ending 1 minute at a time. We then get this absolutely disgusting shrimp eating scene. It's so gross. Like, we get these up-close shots of Dennis Quaid just sucking away at these shrimps. Sucking the living out of these shrimp. He's rubbing all this mayo or whatever the frig sauce that they have provided there for him, and he's just stuffing his face and leaving an absolute mess all over the table. And I think this, to me, I took away from it as symbolic as the man literally eating at us. Like, he is corporate. You know what? Not even the man, but Hollywood, because he is Hollywood. He is the big hotshot producer of the show and the one that's running the show. For me, showing him grotesquely eating these shrimps reminded me of how Hollywood eats away at the weaker. Hollywood eats away at the small. I don't know if I was just looking too much into it, but I'm like, I feel like there's a reason why they're showing him eating so grotesquely. While at the restaurant, though, he is talking to Elizabeth, basically explaining to her how she's gonna be let go. They're firing her. And he says this one line, how it stops at her age. And Elizabeth asks, what stops? And then he doesn't say anything. I'm assuming he means the glow of youth stops at her age because she's 50. Also mean just her charm, just like the natural charm and the appeal and love that people have for you stops at her age. Like how Hollywood always casts younger people. We're always looking at the next big stars. So her being 50, the whole excitement around her being famous and being a celebrity, it stops now, is what he could have meant by that as well. Just a couple takes I had on that. Let me know your thoughts on that too. She then gets in a car crash as she's distracted by these men taking down her poster. And I love that this was the moment and that this is what caused her car crash, because it's literally her being slammed physically and mentally at the same time. When she's at the hospital, this nurse, he examines her back and he notes to her how she would be the perfect candidate. And she's like, what do you mean by that? Then get a shot of his hand and how he has a notable purpley stamp. That's going to come into play later. After she's done being examined, she then finds a note in her jacket about the substance, but then gets interrupted by Fred. Oh, hey, it's Fred! Oh my god, I love this man. He was so cute. Bless Fred. Fred deserves the world. Fred deserves peace and happiness. Go Fred. I am a Fred stan. He's this adorable man who apparently used to go to school with her, and he just compliments the crap out of her, and it's so adorable. He's like, oh my god, you're still the most beautiful girl in the world. And I'm like, the man's in love. Like, the man, he has sparkles in his eyes as he's speaking to her. He then gives her his number. She then goes home and plugs in the flash drive. Sorry, I forgot to mention it was a flash drive of the substance that she gets in her jacket pocket. So she plugs in the flash drive in her TV, and there's a man with a very cool voice, may I add. Whoever they casted for the voice for the substance.
Have you ever dreamt?
The voice explains in the video how, do you ever dream of a younger, more beautiful, more perfect, another version of you? This is the substance. But you have to remember, you are one. I'm wet. It's explained how you get to live out 1 week, but then you have to trade the other week with your other younger version of yourself, and so on and so forth. You guys trade weeks, essentially. Elizabeth picks up a snow globe with a girl inside and just stares at it. And for this, it was so clear to me for being stuck, frozen in time. Her notably staring at this girl in the snow globe, seeing how she's gonna remain that way forever in that snow globe, you know, eternal youth. And then she smashes it out of anger, realizing how she is not that girl in the snow globe. She will age. Your coochie flaps be sagging, girl. She also notices an ad in the paper for replacing her, and specifically asking for women ages 18 to 30. And she also opens a package from the substance and gets the number 503, which makes me curious. Is there literally 503 people who signed up for this shit? Because, like, damn, could not be I. You'll see my wrinkly ass all the way to as long as I'm allowed to live. So when she realizes that her coochie flaps be sagging, she goes to the facility. She gets her little influencer vibe, her sponsorship package. Let's go through her little package. Get ready with me, Elizabeth's Sparkle Edition. She gets an activator. Very cute. That's probably my favorite thing in the whole box. Why does it look delicious? Why does it look appetizing? Tell me you wouldn't want to drink that. It looks like lime juice. Specific instruction for the activator for single dose usage only. Discard after. Okay? Remember that. She also gets a stabilizer, which is for her other self. She also gets a food stabilizer. You activate once, you stabilize every day, you switch 7 days, and you are 1. We then see her naked ass body in the mirror. I'm like, Demi, don't do my girl Demi like this. Like, her ass is noticeably wrinkly. But I'm like, honestly, same when I reach that age. I'm telling y'all, like, that will be me. Like, really emphasize that her ass looks like that. Like, they really did. Actually, it made me curious if that's actually Demi Moore's body. No judgment if it is. But I was curious. I'm like, did she actually get naked for this? She then puts the activator in and gives birth from her back. Births out a whole ass fetus through her back. This is the first scene where I can imagine some people would feel a bit uncomfy, not appreciate the imagery here. It's funny too because the logistics of it, I feel like makes sense because your back is the biggest part of your body. You know, what a cracked idea, but it works. Where else was she gonna come out of her cooch? Truly making me scared of birth, even though that's not how it works, but still making me that much more frightened of birth from this movie. Thank you, Substance, for that. She literally pops out a yassified version of herself from her back. Intro, Margaret Kowali, my girl. She's all wet and sweaty. And she is also very naked. With these shots, I'm assuming they did this intentionally to show the difference in bodies and faces and everything. How Demi Moore's body versus Margaret Qualley's body looks. Because Margaret Qualley, her body is tea. Body is tea. Good for her. Good for her. She's just staring at herself like, yes. I am slaying. I'm slaying this whole ass game right here. Staring at her tits. Could not be I. She then injects Elizabeth with the IV food to maintain her while she's out for 7 days. She then has a very sexual shower. Yeah. And then Margaret Qualley starts bleeding. She starts bleeding through her nose, starts getting these head spasms. And then you realize that she needs to stabilize. That's what the stabilizer is there for. And then in order to stabilize, she actually has to get whatever the hell fluid from Elizabeth in order to stabilize, which is very interesting because she's very dependent on Elizabeth in order to stay alive and well. But Elizabeth, in turn, as we will come to find later on, she doesn't need to do this. She doesn't need to stabilize and take fluid from Margaret Qualley's character. It's only Margaret Qualley that is mooching off of Elizabeth. So very interesting dynamic for sure. Very parasitic. So once she injects herself, then she gets all normal and she's okay. And then she's like, bye old bitch, gonna live out my life. Yeah. She then notices the same ad that Elizabeth was looking at of who was gonna replace her. And she goes to the audition. Queen it up. There's 2 men that are judging the girls who are auditioning, and I'm like, that is a very specific choice. Because it's always men in these positions of power in this movie. Like, it's Dennis Quaid as the producer, and then these 2 men who are the ones that are judging and auditioning the girls. I am sure, Coralie, baby, you made that with intent. She did that with a purpose. Because the 2 men auditioning also make this disgusting comment about the girl who just auditioned before Margaret Qualley. They're like,
Too bad her boobs aren't in the middle of her face instead of that nose.
so that's pretty and then Margaret Qualley comes in, and then immediately they're like,
Jizz in my pants.
in love with her body, say that, oh, well, it looks like everything's in the right place here. And they ask her, what's your name? And she's like, I'm
Sue.
Sue.
Sue. Sue.
Sue.
Sue.
Sue. Sue.
Sue. Sue. Sue. Sue.
What a bop. Like, can someone please make a bop out of this? Title card. to Sue. I also liked how they made her name nice and short in comparison to Elizabeth's name. I feel like that was also done with intent because she is the younger, more youthful version of Elizabeth, and she's only part of Elizabeth. She's not the primary, she's the secondary, and so making her name shorter just emphasizes that much more, that she's just secondary to Elizabeth. I don't know. I truly felt that with like the amount of letters in the name. Dennis Quaid meets her, absolutely falls freaking in love, just in his pants, is like, and he notably says how they want a show like her, beautiful and happy. God. There's then a really cool transition. I like this transition. There's a cool transition from the two women, Sue and Elizabeth, to then two eggs frying, which is really cool because it's like the beginning of the movie where we saw the two eggs. She also gets a refill kit. There's this hilarious scene with her neighbor. I love this scene. Oliver's absolutely stamping over Sue. Like, he would literally lick her toes. Sue was starting to make her own little Bob the Builder project, make a whole ass hole in the wall for Elizabeth and her body. But that obviously makes a shit ton of noise, and as a neighbor, I'd be so pissed. Are you kidding? If it's not this guy complain, I'll complain. Oliver comes with the intent to just rip her a new one, and then he sees her and he's just he gets out of there before she can see his boner, and she continues with her little side project and builds that hole in the wall to hide Elizabeth's body. Then get to see Sue doing the show, and this is so fun. They call it Pump It Up, okay? Notably, very more sexualized than Elizabeth's show, and definitely less wholesome. Because Elizabeth's was literally just called Sparkle Your Life. So cute. You know, the type of exercise that she was doing, it was very wholesome. Like, it was just meant to be just, you know, for health purposes. But this show, if this didn't feel like the start of a low-budget porn, Pump It Up. What are you pumping? What are you pumping? So it's called Pump It Up. It's super sexualized. We get all these close-up shots of her ass and her tits and her body and everybody else's bodies. So and the moves that they're doing is like very sexual in the movement, and just like the name of this show, right? Just the name of it, Pump It Up. I don't know. I'm thinking you can pump a lot of things. She does steal Elizabeth's line, "Take care of yourself," and then blows a kiss into the camera. Susan shown going to parties, and then on the last night, okay, before they're supposed to switch, because remember, it has to be every 7 days, no excuses. However, Sue is horny as shit, and she brings some dude back to her house and tries to bang him. However, she starts destabilizing. She starts bleeding because they're supposed to switch. There's no more stabilizer left for her because they're supposed to switch. However, because Sue wants to get donkey she then goes to Elizabeth and actually takes more liquid from her back so she can stabilize instead of switching. And I guess you can do this, but we'll come to learn that it has consequences. So Elizabeth then wakes up, but when she wakes up, she notices one of her fingers looks rotted as shit. So that's nasty. She then calls the company, the substance company, and the dude explains to her how they are one. Whatever the other does to the other, it's gonna affect the other. They're working together. They're one unit. Because while talking with him on the phone, Elizabeth refers to Sue as she. She's just like, she's been abusing it. She's the one that's doing this. And so that's when he explains to her, no, you are one. There is no she. It is you. So with that too, it's very interesting too because they don't share the same brain, but yet they are supposed to be the same person. So with this, I really took the abuse. I saw Sue abusing Elizabeth, you know, and I didn't think of it as like Elizabeth's doing this to herself. But when you think of it, and with what the movie is saying, she is doing this to herself. She is self-harming herself just to maintain this beauty, just to maintain being youthful. She's doing that to herself. Elizabeth then watches the new show. The new show comes up on the TV and she's pissed. She's pissed. Oliver comes over again and tries to ask her out. Homie can't take an L. While Elizabeth is in her body and is out and about, she goes to some kind of cafe diner and notices an older man with the same spot as the guy that we saw at the beginning and introduced Elizabeth to the substance. And we're like, oh shit, that's him. That's the guy. That's the older version of himself. This older man talks to her and he says, you know, how hard it is to remember that you're still worth something, and tries to reassure her that you still matter. And then he asks her if her younger self has started eating away at her already. I loved this scene because truly how sad. It's so sad because it's literally this older man saying, you know, you as yourself, as an older person, still matter. You, even though you're not this young, youthful, pretty, gorgeous, glowing version of yourself, you still matter and you're still worth something. Shouldn't feel any less just because you're not your young self. After this, she just runs away because she's just freaked the out. No Grim Reaper, no Grim Reaper. Elizabeth also runs into the dude from earlier on that Sue was trying to and he's notably rude to Elizabeth, which is just so funny because it's like, damn. You would think as a young man you would be nicer to an older woman, but no, little piece of shit. Oh my god. So then while she's feeling all shit, right, she then remembers Fred. Remember Fred? She remembers him and how he called her the most beautiful girl in the world. So cute. So she ends up actually calling him and setting up a date for them. The pressure of beauty really starts getting to her, and her own insecurities start eating away at her, literally, as the old man was saying. If she's starting to eat away at you, you can see how mentally she is eating away at her now, because she sees the poster of Sue and how young and gorgeous she looks, and she starts feeling insecure with herself, and she goes back and then redoes her makeup all over again, and then tries to leave again, and then thinks about Sue again. And then we get this meltdown from Elizabeth, just wiping the makeup all over her face. Because of this, she doesn't even end up going on the date with Fred, which is really sad. Because I actually was hopeful. I was like, oh, I want to see this. I do want to see her feeling good in her own skin, and maybe she will realize that she's enough, you know, and that she doesn't need Sue, that she can just continue living a happy, normal life, being her own beautiful self. I was truly rooting for her at this point, but unfortunately, no, yeah, the pressure just got to her and she ended up meeting Fred. That happens too, you know, obviously we shouldn't do it, but people do often compare themselves, and in this case she was comparing herself to herself, whether it be to a celebrity, whether it be to a real life person that you know, whether it be maybe, yeah, if you're older, you're comparing yourself to your younger self. We often do that, and it's just such an unhealthy habit for people to do, and I wish that people wouldn't do it. We could just all stop and just love ourselves for who we are, but unfortunately that is the reality, is that we play this comparison game, and this was showcased really, really well in this scene right here. We then get the switch again back to Sue, and while she's recording, Girly pops something in her booty. She pops something in her ass cheek and realizes it, and then they have to stop filming. And while they stop filming, they actually hear from headquarters that they notice something off in one of the camera angles in one of the shots. So they have to rewatch to see what it was. And then it's this horrifying, like, for me, this gave me anxiety because I'm like, oh my God, just imagine. They literally have her face, her body, her everything on this huge ass screen on display for everyone to see, everyone to judge and look for what imperfection she had. This crowd of people staring at her flaw, at her potential flaw. Literally like under a microscope, and it was just, I felt anxiety. Horrifying. Of all the scenes, girl, of all the scenes, that was the one that I was like, no, my ass is out of that. You can eat my ass before putting me on display for the world. At this point, you can eat my ass if you're just gonna stare at it this much. And yeah, and she panics and she walks away. She runs away back to her room. And oh my God, this scene. This scene was hilarious. Hilarious. There was a bump in her ass. There was a notable bump. Could you guess what it is? Could you guess what it is? This scene was pretty disgusting. She starts playing around with her ass and then pushes the bump all the way over to her thigh, over to her leg, over to her stomach. And then she starts pulling whatever the fuck it is out of her belly button. And you know what it is? Take a guess. Take a guess. I'll wait. A whole ass chicken drumstick. A whole ass chicken drumstick. Oh my God. The way I cringed in myself watching this. It was so nasty. I hated it. Did someone order barbecue? Last name is Cutlet. Eat my ass like a drumstick. Anyway, that was hilarious. She then goes back to her apartment and she realizes it looks like her old self has eaten a bunch of random shit. I guess, I don't know, that's reflecting her in her body. I was trying to think if there was some kind of metaphor with this. Wondering if it means because Elizabeth seemingly ate a lot, that maybe that's Sue, and that's saying that Sue wants to eat but is prohibiting herself from eating a lot because of society standards and trying to be perfect and her body to be perfect. But Elizabeth binging out is actually Sue doing that to herself because she secretly wants to be eating more food and is potentially starving herself. Who knows? Harvey, which is Dennis Quaid's character. Oh, did I never mention his name? I don't think I mentioned his name. His name's Harvey, which I think is hilarious because, like, you know, big time Hollywood man, hot shot named Harvey. That's a scumbag. You know, he then promotes Sue to the New Year's Eve show and says that everyone loves her. She's doing so amazing. She's gonna host the New Year's Eve show, which is great news for Sue. However, Sue then starts abusing the system hella and starts doing that method of taking juice out of Elizabeth and out of her body so she can continue stabilizing herself and live out more than 7 days. We get this whole montage sequence where I would assume months have passed, or at the very least weeks would have passed. And she keeps saying to her every time she takes more juice, oh, I just got the cover of Vogue magazine. I just need to do this photo shoot. Oh, we're going to be on TV. I have to do this thing. And then eventually Elizabeth does wake up. She looks fried. Like a fried bean. Einstein if he didn't groom himself. Just going to show how much Sue been abusing this shit. She then calls the substance and is like, this is not what I asked for. She's been abusing it. Is there a way for me to go back to the way I was? And they're like, no. Whatever's been done has been done. There's no reverse. And she's like, okay, well, shit. But they then give her the option at this point. They didn't give her this option before, just to note, but they then give her the option to opt out. They tell her, if you want to stop, you can stop now. If you no longer want to continue this process, you can stop it. And then she makes the conscious decision to not stop. And because she, I guess, doesn't want to live out her days this way and would rather have her younger self live out more days, I guess. She can't even walk. She can't even walk with her old ass leg. There's this disgusting scene. I didn't really watch it just because of all the noises and the close-up shots. But she's trying to get up from her chair and walk, and she can't even walk because like her leg be crunching. Like, it's crunching. Eventually, she does manage to get up, and the studio, the one that let her go from the show, as a goodbye gift, gave her a French cuisine cookbook. And they notably make note in multiple shots of foie gras. A foie gras recipe. Now, if you're not familiar with foie gras, the way foie gras is made is pretty barbaric. And it's basically these ducks getting force fed so that their liver can expand and expand so much, uncomfortably so then they kill them, and then that's what you eat. Sorry for describing it to you if you didn't know and ruining foie gras for you for the rest of your life. I thought that was definitely also intentional to keep focusing on a foie gras recipe, because that is against the duck's will. They're being force fed in this horrible circumstance just for other people's pleasure. So in a way, this is reflected in what's going on with Demi Moore's character, with Elizabeth, with Sue, is that she is force feeding her. Elizabeth is forcefully, against her will, but also kind of not, because they're one person, but you can see it that way, against her will, getting fed to Sue for the pleasure of other people and their entertainment and enjoyment. So we get this whole sequence of her cooking some random shit. She gets blood sausage while her younger self, while Sue is on the TV doing an interview, and Elizabeth's watching Sue doing an interview. And during the interview, like, Elizabeth's just popping off. Elizabeth's going like tornado ham. And the bitch Sue gets asked if she's ever watched Elizabeth Sparkle's show, since she is the one that took over the show. And the bitch literally says, nah, that's for old people. Fact that she doesn't even acknowledge Elizabeth drives her absolutely mental. Elizabeth's f***ing bananas. Because she's going ape shit. She's going absolutely bananas. Shit is bananas. B-A-N-A-N-A-N. She covers her whole window. Her whole window, just so she can't see Sue's billboard anymore, so she can't see Sue's bitch ass face anymore. And then Sue wakes up, finds the place all messed up with how Elizabeth left it, and then she starts going on her own little rampage, and she takes a bunch of juice out of her back, so disgusting, so that she never has to go back, so that she can continue living as Sue, and Elizabeth will never wake up again. We then get a 3 months later title card, which is right before the New Year's show. So you get some nice flowers that say break a leg, we love you. I also love the choice in words here, because literally Elizabeth was about to break her leg. And like this too, I was like, LOL, like this bitch really thinks she can just maintain herself when literally she has to rely on Elizabeth being alive in order for her to be alive. Like, what? What? The fact that she really thought that she could just continue forever without Elizabeth, when she fully knowing that, like, she needs Elizabeth. I'm like, bitch, you're stupid. She's on her last bit of fluid. She needs one more thing of fluid before the New Year's show, because she's ran out now at this point for the 3 months later. And so she gets a little more, but you can see it's nasty and tainted and like just unusable. So then Sue, with her audacity, calls the substance place, and it's just like, oh my god, like I need more of the stabilizer, blah, blah, blah. And they literally tell her like, okay, well, you need to switch to continue the process. Like, that is the whole point of the process. You are one person. You can't live without the other. So frustratingly, Sue allows Elizabeth to wake up. And when Elizabeth wakes up, good lord. What the fuck? Girl, Quasimodo called and he said, you ain't shit. Quasimodo be looking better than this.
Oh my god.
I felt so bad. I was like, damn. Gremlins 2? More like Gremlins 500. Ooh, the Hunchback of LA. I felt bad. That was crazy. That was crazy. She's decrepit. She has a hunchback. She has like no hair. Her tits are sagged as shit. I feel so bad. I always keep reminding how like this is you. You're doing this to yourself. So then it's just like, how bad can you really feel? You know, it's very interesting. Very interesting, but I don't know. Like I couldn't help but feeling bad for Elizabeth. So then yeah, Elizabeth makes another call and says that she wants to stop even if she can't go back. She's just like, nope, I want to stop now. And I'm like, girl, you should have thought about that ages ago, because like she gets her final kit delivered, runs down runs down the street like a gremlin, drags Sue's ass and injects Sue to terminate. However, while she's in the middle of injecting her, she looks at the note that she gets with the flowers and she thinks of the snow globe, which again, I'm like, see, like snow globe, we're stuck in time. So she thinks of all of that and then takes the shot out and doesn't inject her fully. And then they both wake up, which was hilarious because this is the first time that they're seeing each other face to face, both awake. And then Sue notices the terminate needle and then automatically goes attack mode and tries to kill Elizabeth, which I'm like, bitch, use your words. Use your words. At this point, truly, I was like, could they not talk? Because I actually would have liked them to talk. Have a talk with each other. Queen it out. I was like, if Elizabeth could have just been like, no, listen. I was going to do it, but I didn't. But I didn't because I want you to shine and sparkle the way I did. And you are doing this for the both of us. You're repping both of us. If Elizabeth would have just freaking stopped her and just explained herself and just said, like, go do the show, but bitch, like, be careful with me. Could they have not come to some kind of agreement? But nah. Nope. Sue smashes Elizabeth's face in front of the mirror, which I thought was on the nose there with how she's destroyed herself because of her own self-reflection. And then eventually Sue ends up fully killing her. Drop kicking killing her, may I add, like, Thor drop kicking her. Where did she get that strength? I didn't see that in the contract. And then she starts getting ready for the New Year's show. And then she starts feeling notably unwell because obviously, bitch, like, you weren't going to survive without Elizabeth. Duh. You need the stabilizer. Duh. So the bathroom. And then this scene was so... This I couldn't watch because I'm like, that's... Ugh. She coughs up a tooth and then starts pulling her teeth. And you get right in there, right up close in there seeing that. So I'm like, nope. No, thank you. I'm good. And then she runs into Dennis Quaid with a bunch of men. Bunch of old ass men. He tells her how pretty girls should always smile. Why aren't you smiling? And then luckily they off. And then she just starts running. She starts running because she's just like, I need to do something. And she thinks about the activator. And I'm like, girl, what the hell are you gonna do? What the actual you think's gonna happen? She manages to go all the way home and gets the single-use activator, remember? That's true. That came into play. And she uses the activator to then inject her own self, Sue, to try and make a better version of herself. But does that happen? No. She ends up birthing a walking turd from hell. Absolutely nasty. Ew. It's literally a monster. Literally a monster, all disfigured, has two heads, this one head, and then this Demi Moore Elizabeth head poking from its shoulder.
Oh my god.
This is what reminded me of The Thing. It truly looks like The Thing. Like The Thing's cousin. Like The Thing's ass cousin. And then we get a flashback quote to the dudes who were judging the girl. Looks like all the things are in the right place this time. So I loved that. I loved how they inserted that in there as like we see this creature. And then we get the title card. Monster Eliza Sue. Oh. She then puts on a dress and earrings, trying to be all cute. Like, okay, go off, queen. And she puts Elizabeth's face on top of her monster face and goes to the event, goes to the New Year's Eve ball. Looking all like jacked up Cinderella. We also get a flashback to the quote of how like pretty girls always smile. And then she starts putting red lipstick on the Demi Moore face. And I love the choice of hearing all of these quotes as we see the monster, because it deemed clear to me that because of all of this, right, all of those quotes, all of these things are what led to this, and what led to her feeling the pressure, feeling the weight of being perfect on her shoulders, to doing this, to going to this level, which is what often happens in society today. Oftentimes, people get different types of surgeries over and over again on their faces, and that's because of society's pressure for the standards of beauty. I thought putting in all those quotes while seeing all this was super impactful, because it's just like, man, like see how that gets to your head? See how that gets under people's skins, and then for what? For what? For her to end up being miserable. Yeah, that was great. Looks disgusting, but looks nasty as shit, but I got you. I got the message. Afterwards, she dreams sequences of everyone clapping for her and saying how they can't do this without her. Who could replace her? She's the most beautiful girl in the world. All of these things, which is just so sad. And I do love the choice of words here too, while in the audience waiting for what was supposed to be Sue to come out and be the host of the show. Dennis Quaid says to another guy how she's the most beautiful creation and how he shaped her for success. Yes, like him as the corporate, him as representing Hollywood, him representing the Hollywood standard of beauty. He is what has created her. She then comes out and everyone's like, what the f-? The mask comes off and a literal boob pops out of her head. A titty flies out of her face and drops to the floor. And then everyone starts freaking the out, and the sequence was just fantastic to me. Blood is spewing everywhere. Ooh, this is probably one of the most bloody sequences I've ever seen. Like, Tarantino would be jealous. This was bad. I was enjoying it, if I'm being honest. I'm psycho, but this was funny as we keep getting those quotes too as the blood is spraying as well, like how the boob was in the middle of her nose or whatever. At 50 it stops. Pretty girls always smile. All the things that have led to this moment, to this horror. After this whole bloody sequence, she falls apart. The whole monster falls apart. Elizabeth's head manages to move, and this also reminded me so much of The Thing, you know, like how the head just was like a little spider head, even though this one's not a spider head. It's like head blob, a blob head. Her head, like a little puddle blob, starts moving, and it moves all the way to her star, where we started the movie with. And she gets this one last glow of how everyone loves her, and looks into the sky and thinks about how people loved her. And then she melts right into the star and gets vacuumed up. And that's the movie. Ooh! Y'all, I've been talking for like 2 hours. That's actually insane. I didn't think this was going to take me that long. The ending really highlighting how that was what was most important to her, and that's what she was striving for. That was her whole purpose in life, essentially, was just being a star and being beloved by all and famous. So her dying on her own star is just perfect. Absolutely perfect. And a true full circle moment, because that's where we started. We started with her striving for fame, with her dying because of the fame. What an absolute doozy of a movie. Loved it. Let me know all of your thoughts about this movie, because gracious, this video is way longer than I thought it was going to be. Let me know if you love this one. Let me know if you just watched it through me and learned about it through me. Thank you all so much for watching. Until next time.